everyone. So today we have Bruce Skinner, Executive Director of the Washington Festival and Events Association. And Bruce, I will turn it over to you.
That's great. And can I share screen here?
You should be able to, yes.
Can everybody see that okay?
We're seeing an email, Bruce, instead of I think you want to share the website.
See, I'm not seeing the email.
Try unsharing and resharing that.
No, you can't see it yet.
No.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to start over. Here we go.
Now it's disappeared.
Oh, now we're seeing the calendar alert.
That's good.
Is it the website that you want to share, Bruce? Your website? Okay. Samantha, you want to bring up the website for him?
Sure. It's just the festivals and events website.
It's WFEA.org. Yeah, why don't you do it for me? I'm not sure what the problem is. I can bring it up, but
No problem. All right. Can you see my screen?
yeah, apply and learn more here. Click here to apply.
Samantha, can you make it a little bigger? One more time. There you go.
Okay. You want me to scroll down, Bruce?
Yeah, you can just follow me, but WFEA, Washington Festivals and Events Association, and Arts Law, the Washington State Arts Commission, were chosen by the Washington State Department of Commerce to administer this $3.5 million grant for festival and event organizers in the state. I just lost it.
Oh,
Right.
Eligible, as you can see, are festivals, events that are festival-like in nature, civic and holiday celebrations, cultural and heritage events, music festivals, street and art fairs, local fairs, county fairs are also eligible, as are healthy lifestyle events like marathon runs and bike races. This is a key part of the criteria. Legacy level refers to events that have taken place in the community for 5 or more years and draw visitors from outside the community. Funding supports events in communities of less than 100,000 residents based on the 2020 census. That was criteria set up by Commerce. It supports the 2022 calendar year, so events need to have happened or will be happening in 2022. It's retroactive. It goes back to January 1. And grants are designed to either restart and stabilize legacy level festival events suspended in 20 and 21 and recover from disruptions and losses due to the COVID-19 pandemic or both. Covered expenses include deposits on infrastructure, security, temporary fencing, staging, lights, sound equipment, staff and labor costs, just about anything needed to put on an event. And grant ranges from $5,000 to $35,000. And of course, the intent of Commerce is to, by getting events back, is to stimulate local business, hotel stays, restaurant revenues, etc. And you can scroll down. Keep going to application instructions. The application period is between June 8th and July 1. The deadline is July 1st at 5 p.m. Of course, does it, I'd advise people to get in before then in case you have technical problems on your end. Notification of a grant award will be on a rolling basis by July 25th. And funds will be distributed on a rolling basis by October 31, but starting prior to then. According to Commerce, the definition of a community is a city. So there are 10 cities in the state who are not, if you're a festival event in those cities, you aren't eligible. Those are Seattle, Bellevue, Tacoma, Everett, Renton, Federal Way, Kent, Vancouver, Spokane, and Spokane Valley. I think I named all 10. You can be a for-profit or a nonprofit organization. You'll need your UBI EIN number and also a UEI number, your SAM number, which can be found at SAM.gov. If you don't have a SAM number, I would apply for it today because it takes time to get one. It's required to receive federal monies, and these are federal monies. You can apply without a SAM number, but you can't receive money until you have one. Who's not eligible? One-off concerts. However, you can be a concert series, concert in the park, and be eligible. Virtual events only aren't eligible. Festival events non-existence in the last 5 years. Private events, exclusive events aren't eligible. One-off events, again, like the one-off concerts, aren't eligible. They need to be a festival in nature, and festivals are loosely defined as an organized series of public events that celebrate culture, heritage, and art. Events or festivals that are under 3 hours in duration aren't eligible. And organizations that are debarred from receiving federal funds. Thus, that's why you need the SAM number. And events that won't happen in 2022, either prior to the deadline or after it. The criteria to score will be totally based on eligibility, of course, and financial need. Awards will be awarded according to your financial loss. If you are awarded a grant, you don't need this to apply, but if you are awarded a grant, you'll have to supply your tax documents. May also include organizational budgets to confirm financial loss and need. If you are a government entity and don't file tax documents, there will be a form and you'll be required to supply an attestation letter signed probably by your city manager or mayor. That hasn't been decided yet. And so those are the guidelines. And if you want, I can go through the application if you scroll down.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Margot, could you share your screen? Or Bruce, do you have a fake account you use to sign in?
Well, it's there. There's the application. Obviously, your organization name, type of organization. Again, anybody's eligible. You don't have to be a 501c3. You can be for-profit, nonprofit, a business, a chamber, a city, or a tourism organization. Please scroll down. You'll need a SAM number, as I said. You don't need it to apply, but you'll need it to receive money. And of course, you'll need your UBI number and EIN number. You can, your mailing address for your organization, continue down, contact person, contact information, continue. Did your organization remain in operation in 2021? And it's okay to have maintained a minimal level of operations. You know, just because you did something in 2021, you might add something virtual, you might add a small, very small amount of programming, you're still eligible. You need to plan and remain in operation producing events in 2022. Then you need to tell us about your festival or an event. And then an important question, has your festival or event been held in your community for 5 or more years? To be eligible, you need to check yes. What was the date of your last live completed event? You know, your full event. For most people, that's 2019. Was your event canceled or modified? In other words, you know, a lot of events were held in 2021, but they weren't like their full events. Will be held in 2022. Then we want a description below that best represents your festival or event. You can see some of them listed there. When was or will your event be held in 2022? Size of your budget. Where does it take place? And that's important. It can't be in one of the 10 cities that I mentioned above. Earlier. Again, Seattle, Bellevue, Renton, Kent, Federal Way, Everett, Tacoma, Vancouver, Spokane, or Spokane Valley. Your events, again, need to be open to the public. What's your outreach plan? Is it open to everybody? How does your festival or event welcome newcomers, temporary seasonal workers? Then how many people do you hire? Want to know how you affect the economy. It can be people that you directly hire or that people you subcontract with hire, just everybody. How many vendors? How many spectators or participants do you anticipate for 2022? How many does it draw from the outside area? You know, make your best guess. Need to list the pandemic relief funds you have received. Now, just because you received a pandemic relief fund does not mean you can't receive this fund. However, it is part of your revenue that will show up on your tax documents. You'll need to list all those grants, and then your loss worksheet. Want to know your income and expenses for 19, 20, and 21. And remember that you will required to supply tax documents for 19, 20, and 21. Want to know your losses for 20 and 21. How much are you requesting for 2022? Here's a chance to explain your losses. Then we need to know your estimated revenue expectations for 2022. And you can continue on down. You can fill in what we don't have here as far as categories. Need to list your in-kind as best as you can. List other grants you're applying for. That pretty much is the application. Enter figures from the worksheets above. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you, Bruce. And we do actually have some questions here. So again, reminder, please use that Q&A box for any questions you might have. And again, we'll be sending out a transcript of the Q&A after the program. All right. So our first question is from Laura. She asks, we are a nonprofit music school and are in the process of building outreach music programs to schools and senior centers. Would there be any grants for that?
I think it would be best to check with the Washington State Arts Commission. I know that they will have grants of this type, not today, but going forward. This grant, of course, you have to be in existence for 5 years.
So that means 2017, right? So it has to have been a program.
Technically 2018.
2018. Okay, so if you had your program in 2018, in 2019, and then 2020, 21 might not have happened, but as long as you had it for those 2018, 2019, you can apply. Is that correct? All right. All right, our next question is from Ariel. She asks, our organization's income increased in 2020 and 2021 over the previous years. Much of this was due to one-time government grants for programs outside our normal scope. And she lists some examples: one large census management grant, several COVID vaccine messaging grants from Department of Health. Additionally, government pandemic relief helped income to increase. As we are moving into hybrid programming, we still will have less than 1% income from ticket sales and are still in need of contributed support to make all of our festivals happen. Will this grant be similar to the Working Washington 5, where we can demonstrate loss in ticket sales and all other earned income during that time, even if total income increased? That's a really good question.
Yes, it is. These are federal monies, and they're being distributed to fund loss. So unfortunately, you have to show loss between 2019 and 20 and 21. And loss in gross revenues. You have to show loss in order to receive funds from this grant.
So looking at the total P&L from the different
So,
years.
example, if you took in $50,000 in 2019 and $50,000 in 20 and $60,000 in 21, you would not show a loss. So therefore, you wouldn't be eligible.
All right. All right. I've got another question here. Can we apply for more than one event?
You would apply for how many 990s you have?
So one application for multiple events?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. All right, we have another question. It asks, our festival will span over some cities with under 100,000 residents and some with over 100,000. can we apply just for the festival events occurring in the under 100,000 cities? And if so, should our projected budget only reflect those activities?
Yes.
Okay. Next question. Here we go. The city helps pay for a big event in downtown, but the nonprofit North Bend Downtown Foundation is the recipient of revenues generated from alcohol sales, vendor booths, etc. Do grant funds only cover expenses and lost revenue for the Downtown Foundation, or they also cover the city's cost?
They'll cover whatever your tax documents say.
Okay. So because anybody could apply, so could two entities apply for the same event for their own costs to that event?
There's only going to be one set of tax documents.
Yeah, for that entity, right? But what if the event has two different producers or two different contributors?
That's a good question. That one has not come up. I mean, as long as you can show loss, I think that works.
Okay, so maybe they decide who applies for it and they kind of work with that.
Without knowing the specifics.
Yeah, well, it sounds like there's a city and a foundation that both contribute to an event. So the question is, who applies for it, or can they both apply for it? Or how would they move forward with that?
Well, you know, the nonprofit's going to have to supply its tax documents and show a loss.
Yeah.
And it can do that. So.
Okay, so both can apply for the same event.
They could, yes.
Okay, I think that's all right. Next question. Would a residential owners association or HOA be considered for events that they produce for their neighborhood?
Yeah, any type of organization.
All right. Let's see. And I think that is looking through all the Q&A. So as we're waiting for some more questions to come in, Bruce, are there any best practices or tips for people as they're going through this application that will make their application more competitive?
You know, I would say these things. One, apply for your SAM number if you don't have one immediately, because you can't receive money till you get one. The other is to submit your application sooner than later. You don't want to wait till the last minute in case there's technical glitches. And the other key thing, again, is to show financial loss. That is the chief criteria of this grant. And the financial loss is between 2019 and 20 and 21.
All right, perfect. Okay, we had some more questions come in. All right, our next one asks, what about educational events for K through 12 students and parents? Are they eligible?
Any organization is eligible.
So big, I love it. All right, and then I have another question here. It asks, does the demonstrated loss need to be relevant to the festival or event versus the host organization? As a chamber, we host a festival that was not held during the pandemic, so we clearly experienced loss. However, our overall organization was profitable over the time period. Where do we share this specific information on the event loss?
There were places in the application where you can explain your event loss. You'll have to supply your 990 as a chamber, and it might show that you did not have a loss, but you can explain that, how your festival event did on the application.
Okay, and would this be in the section, this is kind of a follow-up, what do panelists need to know that will help them understand your request for funding? Yeah. Would that be where you'd explain it possibly?
Yes.
All right, perfect. All right, another question here. Our festival, we already got that one, sorry. Got lots of questions here. Here we go. For organizations with gross revenue under 50,000 that don't need to file a Form 990, what kind of additional information will they be asked to provide?
Just supply your 990N, which you're required to submit, or your e-postcard.
Okay.
That'll suffice.
All right, and then next question, are divisions of state or county governments available to apply or just cities?
Any government entity.
Okay. Next question from Katie. I'm applying from a city for the financial loss portion of the application. Do I need to show loss to the city as a whole?
You will, as if you're a government entity, you will show the loss to your festival or event. You'll require to submit a budget and a signed letter saying that you attest that these numbers are correct.
So it'd be specific to the event versus the whole city's budget.
Correct.
Okay, I think that answers Katie's question. All right, another question here asks, if my event is already receiving some external financial support this year in the form of a grant, is my event still eligible?
Yes, again, the number one criteria is to show loss between 19, 20, and 21.
Okay, all right, another question here. We are not required to supply our tax document with the application, correct? This information will be requested should we receive the grant prior to receiving funding.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. All right, and I don't have any questions here. I'm going to check the Q&A box here, and I think we've got it. I'm going to give folks a couple of minutes to submit maybe their last questions. And if those of you who are on the webinar today, you have questions after the fact, please let us know and we can work to try to get some answers for you as well. And let's see, any last words, Bruce?
No, again, just emphasize, get the application in, get a SAM number, and this grant is designed to fund loss.
Yep, and I will also say get your SAM number as soon as possible if you don't have it. As a recipient of a federal government, that can take some time, and I'm sure there's a lot of applications going in. So definitely start that process now. It usually takes like a week or two, maybe. So, and when's the deadline? It's in July.
Yeah, I've heard events that have filed a month ago and still haven't received one.
All right, and I'd also get on the phone. I've called those folks too.
That's correct. That's really important. They will take your phone calls.
Yes, definitely. Because this is an opportunity you don't want to miss out on because you don't have a SAM number. And again, if you have any questions, I don't see any more. I'm just going to check our last. Oh, we have one more. Look at that. What if my organization is located out of state, but we hold an event inside the state of Washington?
That's fine.
Okay. All right. So yes, the question is yes, you can still apply. All right. Well, I think that wraps us up for the questions. Again, I want to remind everybody, if you think of some questions that you have, feel free to contact us or Bruce, and we will get some answers to you. Thank you, Bruce, for giving us your time and expertise today. We appreciate it very much. I also want to say thank you to all these partners here on the East Side who are working very hard to support our business community. I want to make sure you bookmark this site, oneeastside.org/spark. There you will find key resources, information on our one-on-one advising, our weekly webinars, and grant opportunities as they become available. And a big thank you to all of you for participating in our webinar today. So until we see you again, this concludes our program. Thank you.